Hi, everyone. This is Caroline with Expat Interviews, Thriving Abroad. And I have the opportunity to meet the most amazing and fabulous people, courageous people that are doing things, all living all across the globe and just doing amazing things, motivating others to do the same. And I'm so fortunate to have stumbled into this amazing woman, Barbara, who's going to share her really touching story of how she just made the decision to move abroad. And not only did she move abroad, she's thriving abroad. And I can't wait to get into her story. Thank you so much, Miss Barbara.
Ew, thanks for having me.
So, how did your journey begin? You currently live in
Phuket,
Thailand.
Thailand, yes.
How did it begin? How did this journey start for you?
Well, I lived in the States. I'm a California girl. I'm from the Bay Area. And I had a beautiful life there, had kids, houses, husbands, the whole bit. But I was very involved in a really, really toxic alcoholic marriage. And, I was trying to make things work and trying to, get up and get at it every day. And then I got a cancer diagnosis. So I was diagnosed with cancer in December of 2014. And you know you just have to deal with it, right? It's
That
something.
must have been devastating.
It was devastating. I mean, you really feel like you've been kicked by a horse when you hear the doctor tells you, we're going to give you your test results, make sure you're sitting down when you get the call. What good advice that is, because you really feel like you've been hit by a car, kicked by a horse. It takes the wind out of you. And so I was married to my second husband at the time, and he unfortunately was an alcoholic narcissist, and so he couldn't really support me during treatment or my surgery. He just kind of had to make everything all about him, and that obviously wasn't going to work. So I had a mastectomy at the right before Christmas, end of 2014, beginning of 2015. Started chemotherapy, reconstructive surgery. 2015 was not a good looking year for me. I had one boob and no hair.
Wow. So, I mean, did you have a good support group? I know you said you have children.
I had an army of friends, and I called my sister. She and I had never been close, but I knew that she was a good person, and I knew that there would be no drama with her. And I called her and I said something she's never heard me say. I said, I need help. And she's like, yeah, sure. No drama at all. So I ended up leaving my husband in the middle of my own chemotherapy, right between round one and round two, right before I lost all my hair. And
So,
all of my friends came to my aid, my sister. I had like this army of women helping me and supporting me, which was amazing.
so you had kind of a double indemnity, we could call it. You had, this really messed up relationship and then the cancer. It was almost like, they were just beating on your door, these negative energies. And so after the treatment, your prognosis is good. What next?
My daughter was living in Japan, and I thought travel is always good to help give you clarity, help you clear your head, figure out what you want out of life. So I went to Japan and I stayed with her and her boyfriend and saw them and toured around Japan. I was still pretty physically weak because I just had, a ton of surgery, chemotherapy. You don't move a lot during that time. And so I was still not physically strong, but I was also really not emotionally strong. I'd really kind of been through hell. So I thought, travel's it. I went to travel to Japan to see her. And then I met some friends on a 32-night cruise from San Diego to Buenos Aires and did that. So that was amazing too. Got to see the penguins and Patagonia and everything and the tango. And then I came home and I had one of those moments where I thought, okay, I'm at the end of an era. I need to figure out what I want my life to be like going forward. I knew that I wasn't going to get back with my husband. I was on my own. Thankfully, financially, I was all set. And I could really do whatever I wanted. It was kind of the perfect storm in my life. My kids were independent. My parents had both passed away. My husband, I wasn't going to deal with him. And I thought, I'm on my own. I can do whatever I want, but what do I want? And my daughter had gotten a job, just like that as a new college grad teaching English in Japan. And I knew that you could get a job teaching English in Asia if you were a college graduate and a native English speaker. I mean, there's tons of jobs. You get jobs all day. So I thought maybe that would be good for me too, because my background was in sales. And so I was already used to standing up in front of a room, bending people to my will, all of those things. That was no problem for me. So I decided to apply for jobs, and I just applied online. I looked at Chile, I looked at Spain, I looked at Japan, and I looked at Thailand. And I'd never even been to Thailand before. The other jobs weren't working out, and this Thai job just snapped me up in a hot minute. And I thought, this must be the right thing to do. And if it's not, no harm, no foul. I can always back this car up. I'm not a train on a track. I can back up and take another direction. But this will be an amazing life experience, if nothing else. I'll take a career change to teaching. I'll get away from my bad situation. It just seems like such a better deal for me than continuing to stay in the States and do the same thing over and over again.
So I guess, like Oprah would say, it was like an aha moment for you.
It was definitely an aha moment.
Yeah, I feel a kindred spirit with that, because when I left the US also, it was my aha moment. And
Yes.
It's just something you just wake up and you say, you know what? Can't do this anymore. It's time.
I think a lot of people think, I don't have any choices. All my choices are bad. You know what? That's really not true. You just need to think harder, because there are other choices that you and I made, to leave the country, to start over in a brand new place, and to make something brand new out of your life.
Yeah, but I feel that one of the reasons that I enjoy doing these chats with expats is a lot of people, we that are brave, there's a lot of people that don't have that level of courage that we do. And sometimes, because we did it, we're like, well, everybody can do it. And of course, everybody can, but they don't, many people often doubt themselves. And
we
it's
should
really...
talk a little bit about that, because I used to get that all the time. You're so brave. You're so brave. How did you do it? How did you do it? Well, I did it with planes. We all did it with planes.
Right.
But for me, it didn't feel like bravery. It felt like self-preservation. I felt like I had to just fling myself to the other side of earth, get away from a very bad situation that, just offered nothing to me anymore. It was done. And all it was going to do was diminish me and deplete me. I had to kind of take that last few ounces of my energy and go to the other side of the world to start my life over again. It did take a lot of effort and a lot of energy, but it felt like self-preservation instead of bravery. It didn't feel brave to me at the time. It felt like, I'm just going to put one foot in front of the other, and it's going to be okay.
I know. And people have told me that too. Oh, you're so brave to go. And I know it just seemed like, but it's not brave, right? You just made a decision, but
Right.
It's very interesting that you say that. So here you are in beautiful Thailand, living your best life, enjoying, recovering. I'm going to assume that it took a little while for you, even though you did make the break, that, it took some time to hit the reset button. For you to actually mentally just, remove yourself from all that negativity that you left behind, because that's not
Exactly.
easy.
You said, oh, you're living your best life. When I first got to Thailand, I was not living my best life. I was like, when you see those squirrels that have been run over from the car, that was me. I was like squished flat, man. I was not in, I'm living my best life, beach, bikinis, martinis, nothing like that. It was like, all I could do was sleep and work and drink and cry. And I did that, but I felt like my life kept like blooming. Like I was very closed when I first got to Thailand. And I just was like one foot in front of the other, just like kind of slogging it on every day. But every month my life got better, and I felt like I was opening like a flower blooming, and my life got better every single month. I learned to teach. I learned to kind of find my zone as far as teaching. I started out teaching little kids, and littles really are not my zone. Teenagers and adults are really what's going to be good for me. I remember I observed one kindergarten class and I thought, oh, that's enough of that. Those kindergartners are cute, but they are not for me. So you just have to kind of find your way, just like in any new job or any new career.
That's amazing. So I'm going to assume that the book that you have written, which I'm just so excited to talk about, is part of your therapy, your
Oh,
internal,
absolutely.
the therapy of what you've been through. Could just talk a little bit about the title. Is just so cute.
Well, the genesis of the book was my journals. So I am a writer of journals, and I've been journaling for years and years and years. And the benefit of journaling is it helps you really organize your thoughts and kind of get it all out. So it's really a catharsis process. But it also turned out to be very handy in terms of conversations with my then husband, because he would say, "Oh, that never happened." And I'd be able to look back at my journals going, "He's gaslighting me. That totally happened. And here's when it happened. And here's what, here's where we were." And, it's like I had the receipts, right? Um, so I wrote this book from my journals and from my heart. And it was kind of my own eat, pray, love story, except I knew I had to find a better title than Trapped in an Alcoholic Marriage, Got Cancer, Ran Away to Thailand. And I told my friend Mary in the States about it, and she goes, "Yeah, I think you should call it I Made Life My Bitch." And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's such an aggressive title. I can't do that." But the more I thought about it, I thought, girl, you're right. I have earned every word in that title. I have gone fearlessly to the other side of earth. I have picked up, I sold everything. I picked up everything that I still had left and put it in big suitcases and got on the plane. And I began my life again in a country I'd never visited. But I knew I was going to like the food, and everybody I knew that had ever visited said Thailand is awesome. So I thought, okay, that's good. It's also a very safe country, so I didn't have to worry about any of those issues. And it turned out to be the very best place I could have landed. Suratani is a small, very typical Thai town on the east coast of Thailand, about halfway down the trunk of the elephant. Like they describe Thailand as the head of an elephant and the trunk of an elephant. And so I was halfway down the trunk on the east coast, and Bangkok is at the bottom of the head. So if that kind of makes sense to you. But what Suratani means is the city of good people. And it didn't take me more than a few minutes to really feel I've landed in a good place. I've landed in a safe place. Everything's going to be okay. And so that's how the book came about. It came from my journals and it came from my heart. And I finished it actually during quarantine last year.
And you've been in Thailand a few years, 4, 5 years now?
Five,
5
5 years, yeah.
years. So it's safe to say that you've pretty much just dug in and you've adapted to the lifestyle, the Thai people. This is
The
a
Thai people
comfortable
are
place for you.
so lovely and gracious. They are so lovely. They couldn't be more gracious and kind and helpful. There are challenges, of course. Thai is not a difficult language to learn structurally, but it's a tonal language, which means that you can have two words that are the same, but depending on how you pronounce them, completely different meanings. For example, the word for white and the word for rice are the same word, but the tones
Oh,
are different. Yeah, yeah. So it takes a little bit, and it also doesn't have the Roman alphabet, so you cannot read it unless you go to school to learn to read it. It'd be a lot easier to learn if you could read it, I think.
oh, that's interesting. That's
Yeah.
interesting. No, I really never, I've never really, dug into the Thai language, but that's interesting to know. So you are now an author, you're living in Thailand, living your best life.
Now I
And
am. It took me about 5 years, and I thought, why can't I get to this faster? But I think that, if you're in a bad situation, it's really important to honor your process. It's really important to feel what you're feeling and just go through it. Don't try to shift to the end. Don't try to skip over parts. I think that that's really what gets you to the healing part, is going through it and feeling all those feelings, and really just processing and taking the time that you need and being kind to yourself. If that's one thing that going through treatment and going through chemotherapy basically alone taught me is, be kind to yourself. Give yourself the compassion that you would give another. I remember thinking of myself during treatment as my own tiny baby girl. And I thought, I'm not going to ask that baby to fight. I'm going to be kind to that little tiny girl and give her the love and care that she needs and deserves.
oh, I like the way you looked at it. That's very interesting. So we're going to put the for those that are interested in reading your story. And I'm sure there are some that are just going to be very moved by the things that you share in the book. We'll put a link to it below. Any last words of advice, although you just gave some beautiful advice, but any just last words for anyone who might be going through a similar situation in a bad relationship and not knowing how to get out, or they're just wanting to get away and not really knowing what step to take? Can you just share some
Yeah, I think
wisdom?
that the things that I would say to anybody who is in any kind of a bad situation is you think you're trapped, but you're not. There's always going to be a way out. And one of the ways to find your solution is to be still and really go deep, deep inside of yourself and say, what do I really want? What do I really need to get there? Ask for help. It's hard for women because we sometimes feel like we have to do everything all of ourselves. You don't. You're not trapped. You're not a victim. There is a way out. You just need to find it. And if you can't find it on your own, get your friends. There's going to be an army of women and friends that are going to help you talk it out, make a plan, you know, do whatever you need to do in your situation. I can't give you any advice on what to do in your specific situation, but what I can say is there is a way. You just have to dig deep in yourself to find the strength to keep taking one step at a time. You don't have to do it all today. One foot in front of the other, one day at a time, just like they say in AA, right?
Yes, yes.
I was in a very bad situation, alcoholic marriage, narcissist, and I changed my life, but I didn't do it all in one day. So be kind to yourself, be gentle, give yourself the compassion that you need and deserve. And I did it, you did it, hundreds of other women across the world have done it. If it's possible for us, it's possible for you. You just need to get your plan, get your team, get everything lined up, and just start today. Uh, don't wait. There's no reason to. You can do it.
Oh, Barbara, thank you so much. I love that. And I feel like you are going to really inspire someone today when they hear your story, especially once they've had a chance to read your book. Thank you so
I
much.
hope so.
Thank you for sharing with us. Continue to enjoy living your best life in Thailand and thereabouts if you move on to other places and other adventures.
It's a big wide world out there. You never know.
It is, it is. And thank you again. Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.